G'day everybody and welcome back to Downs' Diaries. We're now on week 7. Today I've got a few different things to speak about. Something a little bit different. I've got some change room and training ground bust ups. One that I've been involved in personally and a couple that I've witnessed. So quite interesting. A few stories, nothing too graphic. Yeah, but it's quite funny and just a little insight into what happens when people disagree. Then we'll go on to the exposure that Cheltenham Town have received recently with the TV work, the TV coverage. So that's always nice. And then today on our team profiles, I've got Righty, Morgs, and Munsey. So there's a couple of good stories on each of them. So cracking one with Munsey. Only happened today, so something to look forward to later on. First of all, start off with a few of the training ground and change room bust-ups that I've been involved in. They can be good at times because it shows that people care. If two people are very passionate and not necessarily, it can be more than two, but generally it's two people who have a disagreement about something. They're so passionate that it comes to blows sometimes. Usually it's just an argument here and there, but every now and then it gets carried away and tempers flare, and especially in a match situation you get frustrated. Usually happens at half time because something's happened in the first half they don't agree with, and they come in and they clash, and it spoils over. We've seen in the past it happen on the pitch. I've never been involved where it's happened on a Saturday or a Tuesday night on the actual football pitch. Training ground, it's quite a regular occurrence, but on an actual Saturday, falling out with your own teammate, it's very rare it happens. I think Kieran Dyer was involved in one before. I think Graham Lasso and Batty. When I think they were a couple, just off the top of my head, that they've been involved. So like I say, but sometimes it can be detrimental and it can cause a rift, and sometimes there's no going back from it. You hope that what happens in football stays in football, or on the pitch or in the changing room, and you can shake hands afterwards, agree to disagree, and move on as professionals. But sometimes it gets too far, and there's a rift in it. And it's, the only way is to one person to move on. It's not really got to that stage with me, but I've seen some characters. I remember one of the stories. I'll name names because I'm sure they're happy for it to be named. Steve Blatherwick and Mark Allett, two really good friends of mine, and two very good players. And I remember we were playing Barnsley at home, and we were 2-0 down at half time, and we weren't great. And I remember, Blathers was having a bit of a tough day, and he's always had troubles with his back. Blathers has, and he come in at half time, and he's just like, "Gaffer, I don't think I can carry on. My back." And Mark Allett was captain at the time. He's like, "My back's sore," and then Mark Allett went, "Are you winding me up, Blathers? Your back's sore. You've just done that, and now you're not even going to come out and help us out in the second half like that," and sort of questioned whether his back was sore. I think genuinely his back was sore, and I don't think he could have carried on. But when Blathers heard that, it was like red rag to a bull. He goes, and he just, "You winding me up? You sure?" And then all of a sudden it kicked off, and for a bloke with a bad back, he moved pretty quick, and them two just straight into each other, busted up, and it was a bit nasty. We got in between them, and eventually it settled down, and then Blathers didn't play the second half, couldn't come out because he couldn't play, and we ended up drawing 2-2. So it kind of, that was an incident where it went the right way. It sort of galvanised us a bit. It probably the spark that we needed, sort of wake us up, and we went on to draw the game 2-2 against a good Barnsley side. All well that ends well. They shook hands afterwards and they were fine, and it was just one of them things. Me personally, I've been involved in a few. I get quite fiery myself, and when someone else starts getting fiery, it kind of, sometimes it gets on my nerves, and I can't hold my tongue. It's probably a bad thing, especially when you're so worked up in a match situation. When you're losing at half time, and if you're not having the best of games, and someone that's not having a good game starts having a go at you, you kind of think, well, you're not really having. And then all of a sudden, that's when the friction starts, and I remember one incident, a really good friend of mine, Elliot Benyon, still good for centre forward. We're playing Hartlepool away. This was only 2 years ago, I think, and we just conceded a goal just before half time. So we come to change room 1-0 down, and it was kind of my fault. But in saying that, Elliot had just missed 2 sitters in the first half, so we should have been really 2-1 up, you know. So I come in devastated. I was first in the changing room, and he come in probably within seconds after me, and it was just me and him in there for probably 30 seconds. And as soon as he come in, I'm sat there. I'm like, oh my God, how has that happened? And then he looks over at me. He goes, "I'll tell you how." Well, very good. And and then I said, "Hang on, mate, you've just missed 2 sitters." And then that was it. And then he started saying things. I started saying them before. It would raise voice, getting louder, louder, louder. All of a sudden, it just broke off. It just all hell broke loose, and we're just screaming at each other. In between us, because the change room when it goes around in a U-shape kind of thing, and in between us were like the skips that you put your kit in, and had bottles on top of that. And we're shouting over the top of this, and then I turned and I says, "Nah, I'm done with your L's." Turn me back, and then he said something that really, I can't repeat it, but it really riled me. And I just turned and I just started running and jumping, and I was trying to get over this thing, and I couldn't get over it. And the lads are holding me on. My arms are going, and the lads got hold of my arms, and I'm elbowing people and trying to get him. And he's on the other side doing the exact same thing. You can see he's bright red, he's frothing at the mouth, and we're screaming. I'm trying to headbutt him and trying to punch him, and we're just getting so worked up, and it's unbelievable. We're like not best of mates, we're really good mates. We get on so well, you know, unbelievably good friends. But just at that moment, I could have killed him. You know, I could have strangled him. The funny thing was though, afterwards, I didn't know about this, but after the game, one of my mates, Michael Pope, who was in goal for us, he was walking off with Marlon Airwood as they were coming back in, and he said all he could hear was, you get close to the change room, and all he could hear was just like this massive argument kicking off. And Pope's like, that's the 2 teams. He's thinking that it's happening in the change room, the 2 teams are going for it. So all of a sudden, Pokey and Marlon Airwood come screaming into our changing room, bust open the door, come in, and they see it's the 2. And he says Pokey just turned, and Marlon Airwood just patted him on the back and went, "Unlucky, mate," and walked off laughing.